If your real estate brokerage depends on one or two people knowing how things work, you don't have a system, you actually have risk.
Yeah, and risk doesn't scale. The brokerages that win this year and beyond won't just recruit better, they'll operate better.
And on today's episode, we want to show you how to use AI as an operations assistant, not to replace you as a leader, but to capture everything for your brokerage.
That's right. 5 practical prompts, 0 hype, immediate implementation.
This is the AI-enabled brokerage.
Episode 403 starts right now.
Welcome to Wandering But Not Lost, your online source for finding balance so that you can align, connect, and prosper. And now your hosts, Jen O'Brien and Matt Emerson.
Today we're talking directly to brokers and brokerage owners, and honestly, real estate team leaders too, because this can apply to anyone running an operation, a real estate operation. So stand by for the AI-enabled brokerage, 5 operational prompts every broker or team leader can implement right now.
Welcome back to the WBNL Wandering But Not Lost podcast. This is episode 403. You can find all those show notes over at WBNLpodcast.com. So today, .com. Go on. There you go. All right. So today we're breaking down the top 5 ways a broker can use AI to support company operations. Practical, implementable, no hype.
Exactly. We selected 5 ideas that we think you can jump into right now. Maybe you pick 1 or 2 that you like, but the real leverage is operations, repeatable stuff, right? Things that keep your company running, reduce mistakes, improve training, and protect your brand.
That's right. And one more thing, just so we can throw this out there, we're building something right now that ties directly into this episode. We're in the final stages of releasing an AI-powered customizable operations manual for brokers and team leaders, except we're going to try to maybe get a little shorter name for that, if we can think about that.
Well, I think we're going to have 2 versions, to be honest, because they're slightly different, right?
They are a little different. And actually, the more direct to the audience, the better they will be. So anyways, that's coming sometime soon, sometime in the next, we hope in the next 30 to 45 days. It might take a little longer. You know what? We're going to release it when it's ready and is right to be released. So just keep watching for it, and Lord knows we'll keep talking about it. But this episode is the big picture of why that really matters so much in your business.
All righty, let's jump in, Matt.
All righty. So let's start here. Let's talk about why AI as an operations assistant is really an advantage to you. So why does that operational side matter so much right now, Jen O'Brien?
Because in our opinion and our experience over the last 30-something years of working in the real estate industry, and we're really talking most small brokerages. I find a lot of the bigger franchises generally have operations manuals and so forth. Now, whether or not anybody uses them, whole different story. But most small brokerages are running on, we're going to call it tribal knowledge, meaning 1 or 2 people know how things work and everyone else is guessing. And I think if you've been in any kind of management, if you are listening as a team leader or a small broker or somebody that's starting a brokerage, you know what we're talking about. Like if the one person is out sick today, like knows how to do everything, you're in trouble, right? So, and that creates inconsistency, really liability. It really enhances the overall risk of your brokerage and honestly burnout.
Yeah, absolutely. And it also makes onboarding really, really slow, right? Training uneven, all of that kind of stuff that if you're not wired up and you're firing on all your cylinders, you have a problem. And you end up answering the same questions over and over and over again. And that one is huge.
Exactly. So think of AI as a tool to capture, organize, and standardize how you run your business. It helps you get things out of people's heads and into systems.
That's right. And if you do it right, you can build something that scales without chaos.
All right, so let's jump into the first one, and it's the big one. It's the big, broad one. And Matt was just referencing the need to have SOPs or a brokerage operations manual. AI can help you create this living, organized playbook for your company. It's a complete blueprint or playbook for how everything works in your company.
Right. But the real operations manual isn't just a binder that sits on the shelf, which unfortunately, Jen referenced this a minute ago, is something that happens really more than not, right? But if you really understand what it's about and you build it with intention, I think that's really part of the key, because a lot of ops manuals are just built just to kind of do that, right? To say they've been done. It's role-based, if it's updated, and it needs to be searchable.
Yeah, and we're going to build what we're creating as a product for team leaders and small brokers using the Google Docs, okay? Right. That whole suite of tools, because it then becomes searchable. Plus, you can integrate even working with Gemini AI, for example, if you haven't been, starting to work with AI. So I think here's where everyone, not just brokers, gets stuck. They know they need SOPs, even down to an individual agent. If you're listening, you need SOPs to run your small business that's inside of a brokerage. Clearly the teams now, as we think about this hierarchy, you start as an individual, maybe you have an assistant, then you might become a team leader and bring other people in. Now there's more responsibilities, okay? Then sometimes team leaders decide to go out and start their own brokerage, which is the evolution of how we've seen a lot and how we've helped people to this day. Now we have other responsibilities, because when you're a team leader inside of a brokerage, that brokerage is handling all the outside stuff, payroll and interfacing all the how commissions are paid and compliance and so forth. But now when you step up to that broker role and you own your own company, now you're at this complete highest spot and responsible for everybody underneath you, management wise and supervisory, and that's where the risk can come in, right? So AI will help with, no matter where you are, solves this by giving you an instant outline and first draft. And before we jump into, I just want to say this. I'm going to walk through a prompt here in a second. I think it's critically important that you kind of know what you do want to do as an individual, as a team leader, and as a broker. You know what it is you're already doing. So the more information you're able to kind of get out of your head, even if it's totally a rough draft, is going to help when you start working with these prompts, okay? So my point is, if your AI doesn't know who you are and how you do things, it can come up with some general guidelines. But the more you talk about, and it'll make sense as we go through it, the more you say, here's generally what I do on a day-to-day basis for these areas. And that's what our product's going to have. It's going to cover the main areas of running an operations. And we're going to help you make this turnkey. All right. So let's jump in, right, Matt? What are we going to do? We're going to show our first example.
Just jump in and really talk about what some of the, those examples are that brokers need to be using.
So I was talking big picture there. So if you don't have any of that, it's going to help you when you start working with this. This next one's going to help you trigger what other things you need to do. And the more you can feed the AI, it's going to take it and make it easier. The hardest part we all have is to write the whole stuff out and to get it into an organized fashion. And the way AI is working now, you can set this all up and turn them into whatever you need them to do, even little dashboards, programmable dashboards. There's now so much that you can do with AI. And I'm just starting to learn a little bit about it myself. I don't know about that technical stuff, but I want to know because it's easy. I thought it was difficult. You don't have to be a programmer. You can go in and create an operations dashboard based on information that you give to the AI. But let's start very simple, all right? We're going to start with the life cycle of a transaction, because if you're a broker, you're responsible for the compliance of all the files that you must maintain for however many years you need to have in your particular state. So we can start with listing intake. Let me list a few things. So listing intake, marketing, compliance review, how to process a complete contract, transaction timelines, closing, post-close, then build the internal ops for so this is big picture, the general areas of your brokerage. Onboarding agents, right? Support request, tech stack. What tech things are you using in your brokerage that you use internally, but also that your agents use to run their businesses? Handling marketing requests, processing commissions and 1099s at the end of the year, even down to how you resolve disputes inside of your company. So just start to think like that and just start jotting down some general notes. It doesn't have to be the SOP. This is the things that we do here, okay?
Right. And each one of the things that Jan talked about are, an SOP is not just a list of things that you need to be operating around. And it's how to do each one of those individual things, right? So come in and turn the lights on, literally. Sometimes, that needs to be in there too.
Checklist.
Right. That's exactly right. Right. And all of those different sections should have the same kind of structure. So it's easy for someone to follow. Think about this. I mean, this is what I always think about when I think of an ops manual. You're sitting there, and I'm telling you, the person that's at your front desk is probably the key to your whole operation. Right. Totally. So that person is out sick, and you need someone to come in and do their job, and they're going to be out for more than one day. They're going to be out for a couple of weeks. You need someone to walk in and be able to have a blueprint that they can follow from the very beginning, right? And that's what the SOP is all about. Really, it saves you all of that frustration and time. So it's for, it's really, like you said, it's a checklist. It's a step-by-step checklist, with links to forms, with scripts, common mistakes, all of that kind of stuff.
So here's a sample prompt for just one of those areas that we just talked about. Please draft a step-by-step SOP for new listing intake for my real estate brokerage. Include roles for the agent, the admin, and the compliance reviewer. Include a checklist, a timeline, and required documents. Output as a one-page SOP. Now, to give the AI a little more structure, you would maybe have the notes, the simple notes, or maybe you have a checklist of things that are needed. Whatever you might have, even if it's in a rough format, the more context you can give the AI, the more it's going to take your information and structure it into something. And then you can start getting a feel for how it's going to work, because you learn as you work with your AI is what we find. Okay.
Yeah, and it'll keep building its knowledge about what you're talking about as you go on too. So the whole point here is once you get that chat in there and they you get your feedback, it's about review, right? Review, and then you go and you customize it to your brokerage, because your systems and state regulations are going to obviously vary and all that.
And I guess we're going a little overboard on this first one to say, because this is how I felt maybe in the beginning, because when I first started work with AI, I wasn't sure what to do. And I was like, well, this is just like using Google. And then I realized, wait a minute. No, it's not. It's only giving me back what I'm putting it in there. I wasn't being specific enough. And then here is the other key thing that I've learned. I just did a short on this. Sometimes if you don't know where to start, you could just start talking to your AI about, I want to create some SOPs for my company. Ask me some questions so that I can answer them. So like, for example, get your AI to help you stop and ask questions about the process where you can start actually jotting down those notes. Then you're going to give it these things. And so once you start doing, so you ask the AI to help prompt me on what you need to help me accomplish this goal and list everything that you want to have accomplished. I want processes for this, this, and this. And that is how we've started to work with it. Okay. So now AI you can work collaboratively to get it out of your head. So I'm not saying like get away from your computer, sit down and write it all out. No, actually work with your collaborative partner here to say, help get this out of my head, the general stuff that I've never written about. So, because I ultimately want to do this and I need you to help me organize it, but these are the areas, okay? And it will do that. Now you have a draft. You make it real by, because once you have something in writing, man, it's so easy. Once you have, you're like, oh no, wait a minute, I have to do this step next. And then you go back and go, well, move this to there. And you just literally, it's like you're working with an editor, okay? A creator, a copywriter. Now you will be able to start building it all. And that's how this is what we're going to be doing. We're going to be creating a lot of that in our product, the prompts, the things that you need to use, because even trying to do this today and tell you to do it, I think a lot of people are going to be like, it's too confusing. I don't know where to start. So that's why we've decided to create the products. But if for those of you listening, jump in and start getting your AI to help you get it going, instead of thinking you have to write all this stuff and then put it in and ask it to organize. I hope that makes sense.
No, I think it makes total sense, actually. But you will learn as you go, obviously. That's the whole point of it. Let's just jump on to number 2. And this is a huge one to me. I think, it's one of those things that, people we'll talk about that. I don't want to get ahead of myself. Number 2 is recruiting and onboarding agents.
Yes, very important.
It is kind of the whole point of building your brokerage, right? I love that Jan and I have always treated this like a pipeline, right? And not like a one-time event. A lot of times people will go out and have that big recruiting event, and then they won't have the systems and plan around it. And then there you go. It's like, well, that was a little bit of a waste of time, right? Most brokers will recruit emotionally and onboard casually. And you might be thinking to yourself, that's not true. I don't do that. Well, really analyze, because you might be doing that. So you might need a bigger, stronger system underneath you. And then they wonder why their retention is low.
So how does AI support this? First, here's all the areas that it can help you in this whole big bucket of recruiting.
Right.
Your actual recruiting materials, okay? Job posts, your scripts that you could use to attract agents, helping develop a clear value proposition on why somebody should join your brokerage. Then screening, interview questions, scorecards, and metrics to monitor results, making everything that is needed to follow up, make refinements as needed. Then you get to the onboarding phase, and now you could have AI help you with 30, 60, 90-day onboarding plans, training tracks, accountability milestones, how to coach your agents on how to work within your brokerage in the first 30 days, and then help them get up and running. So that's just the start, the beginning, things you need to do to get going, and then what to do for interviews and so forth, and how to close, and get it to help hold you accountable how you're doing with all that.
Right, and that's the whole point. If you had all of that stuff in place and it was all delineated and how you actually did all those steps, it could change how most brokerages operate right off the bat, right? And brokers can also use AI to create consistent onboarding experiences like welcome email sequences, tech setup checklists, compliance orientation, culture expectations, and training schedules. The list really goes on and on and on. And you're going to find that when you're in the middle of all this, you'll think of all sorts of new things. Wouldn't it be neat if we did this? And AI can make that happen for you a heck of a lot faster.
That's an excellent point, because that's what happens to Matt and I all the time. It brings out your creativity, your organization, but you feel like you're not doing it on your own. It's so hard if you're not. We're trying to explain the evolution of what has happened to us from the beginning of like dabbling to holy mackerel, we're just the tip of the iceberg, right? So here's another AI prompt example around the area of this recruiting and onboarding. So please create a 30, 60, and 90-day onboarding plan for a newly licensed real estate agent joining our brokerage. Include weekly milestones, training topics, production activities, compliance training, and accountability check-ins. Now, as I just said, helping it with your process is good, but sometimes it's also good to give a prompt like this and see what the AI does come back. Depending on how much you have been working with it, it knows what your company's all about. That's why I think that initial prompt of, I want you to know everything about what my goal is in running this brokerage and how I do it now, and ask me all the questions, because it's smart to ask you what it needs to be able to support you. So if that makes sense. But sometimes it's cool just to go in here, if you've done some of that legwork and it has a memory of what it is you're doing and why you want to work with it. That's the two things. Who are you? What do you want to accomplish using AI? And give it enough backstory so it has context. But sometimes doing that kind of a prompt, you'll see what you have, and then you'll recognize, I need to give it some more information. And
I think also that works both. There's the other side of that too. It's like it might come back with things that you had not thought of yet. And I think that's the whole key. And that's why I think those kind of a little bit more generic prompts are actually really helpful in this process, because there are things that aren't in your head that you'd be, actually, if I add this extra step or this extra line item, it might be the key to make this whole thing work a lot smoother. So obviously, once you get that prompt back, you tailor it based on your model, team-based mentorship, if independent contractors, whatever it is, you know what I mean? You're going to go in and you're going to actually form it and make sure that it all fits exactly what you're doing. So, all right, so you make it personal, right? You make it you.
Exactly. And honestly, the best way to learn all this is just to jump in. That's what we're trying to encourage you to do. You don't wait till you have everything. I know everything, and then I'm going to do it. Just start playing with it. It's crazy fun. So we've covered operations, which is a lot, internal operations, and then recruiting and keeping people, getting people on board with you. So let's talk about number 3, internal communications. Okay. This is a big retention lever. I felt it's like I've seen brokers who are great at bringing the people in, but then there's nothing that's helping them see the value at ongoing. Like, you're always having to re-recruit your agents, in my opinion. And you can do that through communications. Okay, so let's discuss that.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point, because you have to think about this. A lot of the especially bigger companies can get a reputation, because I've heard this all the time when recruiting agents, that those don't go over there, don't go here, because you're just going to be a number to them. You're just going to be that person that just one of the thousands of people that are in that group. And a lot of times that does indeed happen. That's why that internal communication and staying connected to that agent is so important. So brokers can use use AI to create consistent communication rhythms like weekly updates, monthly newsletters to agents, meeting agendas. That one is huge because it can really help you up your game with your meetings, which are so vitally important, but also can be the biggest snore fest in the world, right? Recaps of what's going on, action items that are happening within your company or between you and your agents. And it keeps the culture tighter too, right? Because you have a message that's going out that's consistent and that it is on task with what's going on with your people, right? People will know what's happening in your company, which is huge. That's really what it's all about.
It's so interesting that I used to do all those things as a broker manager, and I prided myself on a follow-up meeting agenda or sending out a monthly newsletter, but I had to create all that based on my knowledge of what was important. I can't imagine what it must be like now. I mean, I can, but it would be great how much more succinct that you can get being able to go in and say, because I use that for my newsletter to my clients right now, but how about
exactly.
Okay. So AI is going to help you communicate clearly, consistently. It's not replacing you. You know what you need to talk about. You know that you want to do lessons learned or whatever it is in a meeting agenda, for example, but now you can really take it up a level. I mean, it's so wild, right? It's just going to save you time. So what are some of those other ideas? A weekly update or broker template. This is something I actually appreciate with my current brokerage. They send a weekly newsletter out that will have some tidbits in it, have stats are in it sometimes, just information that I think is timely and informative. And it just comes out every week. Not all companies I've been in have had that. And I also like that our brokers will do a video from time to time, and they talk about local market trends and stats and what's happening in the office. The other thing that they've recently done is we get a text and a voicemail where it's recorded. Here's what's going on this week. These are easy. This is using tech to the next level, and AI can help you with all of that as well. Compliance reminders, upcoming trainings, obviously the meeting agenda, helping you stay on track with it, or like I do with the newsletter, like what part should I have in there, which need to have things like, we'll get to that prompt here in just a second. So recaps after meetings, keeping people informed about things they need to know that have changed in the laws and so forth. This is all important stuff as a broker or a team leader that you can show your regulatory agency that manages your licenses, that you're keeping your people informed on things that are important. Okay. So there's just so much that it can help you with.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's a prompt idea. Okay. So draft a weekly brokerage update email to agents, including market pulse, compliance reminder, training schedule, recognition, and one action step for agents this week. Keep it concise and professional.
That's perfect.
Now, that is perfect, right? And then you're going to take it and you're going to make it from there. It's just a little side story. Back in the, goodness gracious, this was all the way back in the late 90s, I would say. I ran communications for a company here in Southern California for a real estate company. And this was back when, okay, everyone get out your canes, but this was back when the big internet thing was the blog. Right. So that was the thing. So you would have one of your farming techniques was to build a neighborhood blog.
Mm-hmm.
It's still around today in a lot of different forms. But anyway, but every day I would send out a article to every agent in the company
to put on their blog.
Now, listen, this was my first dipping my toe in with keeping current matters, which are still around today, right? But would either use theirs directly or get ideas from that and send it out to the agents. Now, did 2,000 agents run out and do something with that? No. But the whole point is, as a broker, you're giving information to agents that's going to spark them in some way, right? You're giving them something that's going to help them move along. So I got a lot of response to people appreciating that because they didn't know what to do back then, especially, right? AI can take that to a trillion, up a trillionth degree, right? To take it a whole another level. This little prompt, as simple as it is, can be a game changer for you.
I love that you just said that. It's because we all know that. I just know from having a team, one of the things that the team members liked that I did was the newsletter for them because they did not want to do it, or they didn't do it, or they didn't know how, or just didn't have time for it. But imagine if you, as the broker, is sending out, here are 5 different, you could get this every single week. Here are 5 different things that you could include in your own newsletter. Now, maybe a few more people will do it. Not all of them are going to do it. So maybe there's even a way to integrate that. But the point about these newsletters is it needs to be local content, not just the national stuff. So it does require somebody to go in and get what's really going on locally. And
all right, so let's talk about number 4, and that, of course, is our favorite thing, training. Brokers need to train. That's all there is to that, but most of them don't have systems in place actually to do that, and this is where AI can be really, really incredible. It can help you outline trainings, create role plays, create scripts for you, quizzes, and even micro-learning modules that you can actually, have ready for your agents.
Yeah, so no more scrambling every week about what am I going to do for training. How about building a training library? Or alternatively, you can partner with us to do the heavy lifting and co-brand with our real estate sales builder training program, which is the foundational stuff, 12 modules. But then what you do is work with your AI to augment that to cover how you do things in your brokerage, in your state, your forms, any of your practices, your model, what kind of agents you have, skill levels, and so forth. So it's not as overwhelming because we've got a core training program. You can check in the show notes or go over to WBNL Coaching. You can learn how you can partner with us very affordably. And then you can use AI to do the part that you need to do about your company and your state. Okay.
So here's a quick prompt that can help you kind of get started on that area of your business. The training section, number 4. Create a 12-week training calendar for real estate agents at a brokerage. Include weekly topics, role play exercises, worksheets, and a short quiz. Balance skills, contracts, client communication, and lead generation.
Love it.
Now, that's just tight, right? I mean, you can add anything else you want to in there, but that alone is going to get you, well, here's what it's going to do. It's going to get the conversation started, and then you can go from there, right? So again, once you get through that prompt, you need to review for accuracy, obviously compliance issues and anything that's happening within your local boards or, your state information. But it is a great way to, I guess, really more than anything else, it's to make things, you can make things consistent, but also just make it your brand, and it can make it feel really familiar and good for the agents.
I totally love it. All right. And so that brings us to number 5, which is equally important, compliance and risk reduction. This is what brokers should be thinking about, especially with AI generated marketing and a lot of the deep fakes and a lot of the misinformation that's out there. So it is important to be aware of all of that as well. But let's talk about how we could up the game for risk management in a brokerage.
Yeah, you can use AI to create checklists for marketing compliance, for fair housing, safe language, which is huge, disclosure reminders, and even transaction document checklists, which you should probably already have, but they can help build that out for you.
And some of the things that are happening now in our world of real estate that you could use, just to give you some examples, that it can help you create scripts and procedures about how your admin and agents verify, identify, how you confirm that somebody is a real person, a buyer is real, what red flags to watch for, how you communicate wire fraud and wire safety and so forth. Remember, AI can assist. It doesn't replace your professional judgment. So what are the red flags that are out there, but you can work with AI to help disseminate that information and help everybody learn how to work with it better.
Right. Okay. So here's the broker level prompt for this section. Create a risk reduction checklist for real estate agents for client communications, wire fraud prevention, fair housing compliance, and marketing compliance. Output as a 1-page checklist with to-dos and the don'ts to-dos. So that also is.
Honestly, that makes a great meeting right there.
Right. I was going to say it's simple, sweet, and it's going to give you all the information you need. It would make a great meeting.
And it goes without saying that all of that needs to be part of your operations manual. So one of the things, too, that's cool about going back full circle before we end today, everything needs to have a procedure of what you do, how you run training, how everything. Just we talked about at the top of the show. But you can also think of it as like you can make this a living, breathing document and add to it so that just got me thinking, this is multi-purpose. I'm going to create something that we can educate our agents when it comes to risk reduction in the brokerage on those topics of fair housing, wire fraud, et cetera. But we're also going to implement it and put it in the agent procedures guide,
right.
The agent's policies manual, if you will. And you're now integrating it into, and it's repeatable. And then you can do a whole meeting on it. Or in a year from now, you can do another meeting on it. You see where we're going with this? So there you go. Makes it easy.
All right, so let's take this all and make it real, Jan and Brian. So if there are brokers out there listening, and they want to start next week putting this in, what do they do next?
Just pick one area. We gave you 5 different areas. So pick maybe one SOP, one communication thing you want to do, one training template. I'd start with a single high impact SOP like listing intake or contract to close if you don't have one of those, so that you could immediately get out to the agents, because there's a lot of internal stuff that you're not going to share with the agents. But if you really want to start making an impression, pick something that will start getting you in the right direction, but also show the agents what you're working on. And I do like this weekly agenda update. If you don't do weekly meetings, a lot of people don't do weekly meetings anymore, but there is power in sending something out once a week if it contains valuable information. Okay.
Right. Yeah. So what you're really doing is building a system stack. And once you have those, it's really easy to update and expand. And those are the top 5 ways a broker can use AI as an operational assistant. SOPs, recruiting and onboarding, internal communications, training, and compliance.
And if you want a more structured way to implement all this, we will be releasing our AI-powered customizable operation manuals for brokers, and then a different one for teams. As we said, there's different requirements. And so just get on our mailing list. You can go over to WBNL coaching, right?
Yeah.
It's near a place. We'll have it in the show notes. There's a place that you can get. We have several people that are on our waiting list, so you'll be the first to know about it. That's what I was trying to say.
That's right. And in the meantime, though, start with one system this week. One SOP, one template, one training outline.
Thanks for listening to this is episode 403. Hello. If you found it helpful, share it with another broker or a team leader who's building systems for 2026, and we'll see you on the next episode.